Shocking secrets. How the richest poorest lived in the Victorian era, never told before. The streets of Victorian London held whispers and shadows, secrets unheard, stories untold. In the flickering gaslight, the wealth of the upper crust sparkled like jewels, while just a cobblestone's throw away, the tattered rags of the poor told tales of desperation and hunger. Can you imagine? A glittering ballroom where lords and ladies twirled on marble floors, laughter echoing off the crystal chandeliers, while in the alleys, mothers wept as their children begged for scraps amidst the filth. The very air was thick with the contrast. The rich dressed in silks, the poor wrapped in misery. One might think such a gap could only exist in fantasy. But here was reality, a duality that could make your heart race, sending shivers down your spine. At one end of the street, the sound of clinking glasses and the sweet melody of a piano filled the air. At the other, the haunting cries of workhouse children mixed with the stench of decay. It's these extremes that drove people mad, shaped their destinies, and buried their hopes in the ground. But wait. Let us hone in on one stirring tale among many. There was a young girl named Mary, just 10 years old, her thin arms barely holding up a basket of stale bread. She dreamed of the day she'd taste sugar for the first time, a simple wish lost in the fog of toil. On the other side lived Lord Kensington, who hoarded wealth like a dragon, his grand estate so opulent it could blind your eyes. Yet behind those golden gates, he struggled with a darkness, a secret that could shatter his world. Before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the hour approached midnight, Mary exchanged weary glances with other children who shared her plight. Meanwhile, Lord Kensington stared blankly at the last candle burning low on his mahogany desk, shadows dancing on the walls revealing flickers of doubt and despair. What was he hiding amongst the vastness of his possessions? As he leaned back, a thunderous knock shattered the silence, sending a chill down his spine. Will these lives connect in ways unimaginable? The clock ticked ominously, urging us to discover the truth, a truth draped in sadness, hidden within the luxuries of the rich and the struggles of the poor. What secret would finally unveil itself on the stroke of dawn? The ground seemed to tremble beneath Lord Kensington's feet as the second knock reverberated through the opulent halls, each thud echoing with a sense of foreboding. His heart raced, thundering against his chest as if demanding to escape. What kind of visitor arrives at such an hour? With a shaky breath, he pushed himself away from the desk, the candlelight flickering as if it too felt his rising anxiety. Stepping cautiously toward the large oak doors, he battled thoughts of possible scandals, financial ruin, or worse still his darkest secret teetering on the brink of exposure. He hesitated, hand resting on the cold brass handle. The shadows around him seemed to grow longer, wrapping tighter around his frail body, and just for a moment he thought about retreating. But curiosity propelled him, fear trailing behind. He swung the door open, revealing a figure cloaked in darkness, their face obscured by a woolen hood. "Who are you?" Lord Kensington demanded, his voice betraying a hint of unsteady fear. The figure stepped forward, and in a low voice, laden with familiarity, replied, "A messenger, my lord." As the words settled in the air, a flicker of recognition crossed Kensington's mind, but he clung to his composure. "Of what news do you bring? You need to listen carefully. Time is short." The hooded figure's presence charged the room with a palpable tension. "Those who seek the truth shall find it, but only if they dare to look." Lord Kensington swallowed hard. The implication behind the words burrowed into his mind, igniting a flicker of dread. "What do you mean?" "They are coming. The debts you thought buried. They've awakened." The messenger's voice dipped like a rising tide. and they will drag you down with them unless you act now. The room felt as if it were closing in, the walls donning a suffocating weight. Kensington shook his head in disbelief. I have paid what I owe. Do not toy with my sanity. Once, perhaps, the figure hissed. But now the children of the city are threading their own fates together, and they'll soon find a way to unravel yours as well. The name Mary lingered like smoke in the back of Kensington's mind, a faint echo of innocence amid accusations. A shudder ran through him as he imagined the girl's tired face, her desperate eyes. How could her struggles lead back to him? Suddenly, the messenger drew closer, dropping the hood to reveal a young woman's face, lined with resolve yet stricken with the weight of the world. You cannot keep them out for long. The truth binds us all, Lord Kensington. A secret kept too long becomes a blade. Throat tight. He felt the urgency in her words coil around him, constricting, suffocating. She was right, he had buried too much. He wanted to shout that he had built walls to keep those desperate lives away from his own. Yet, there was a nagging feeling that perhaps those very barriers were about to crumble. As she turned to leave, a last spark of clarity gripped him. Wait, what must I do? She paused, looking back over her shoulder with piercing, haunted eyes. Seek the truth in the place where dreams die, or risk losing everything. With that cryptic warning hanging in the air, she slipped into the shadows, the echoes of her words trailing behind her. Lord Kensington stood frozen, engulfed in a tempest of emotions. The clock softly ticked on, reminding him that dawn loomed on the horizon. Meanwhile, in the grim slum that Mary called home, an unexpected alliance was being formed. The echoes of Kensington's words would soon collide with her dreams. What consequence awaited those who dared reach for a sugar-sweet life? What awaited this intricate web of fate? As daylight approached, the truth was ready to unveil itself. But how many lives would it shatter along the way? The air hung thick with unease as Lord Kensington closed the door, the finality of it slicing through the resolved silence. His heart drummed a frantic rhythm, pounding against the confines of his chest like a warning bell. What had he just heard? The young woman's words gripped him, the place where dreams die. He had long assumed dreams were for the hopeful, not for men weighed down by secrets. But could it truly be that simple? Could those lost aspirations lead him to redemption, or just deeper danger? He stepped back to his desk, the moonlight pooling across the dark wood, illuminating the remnants of his decadent life, a goblet half filled with aged wine, a stack of papers tainted by overwhelming debts, and the faded portrait of Mary. Her once cherished smile, now a haunting reminder of what had slipped away from him. I have to know, he murmured, the words slipping from his lips almost as a prayer. Gripping the desk, he steadied his trembling hands and reached for the papers. Letters of dismissal, pleas for payment, and each one carried the weight of truth. They echoed the consequences of his actions, bringing him face to face with the vulnerability he had fought so hard to bury. A low growl of urgency tightened deep within him. If he were to play this game of truth, he needed to move, and fast. Suddenly, a loud crash jolted him from his thoughts. Kensington's pulse quickened. Someone had entered from the back entrance, the very shadowy passage he'd thought forgotten. Who's there? He shouted, bracing himself as he reached for a heavy candlestick, the only weapon at hand. He stepped cautiously toward the sound, the creaking floorboards echoing his every movement. The silhouette of a figure darted at the edge of his vision, and his heart leaped. The shadows flickered, melding into a visage he couldn't ignore. Don't be alarmed, my lord, a familiar voice called out, softer than he remembered. It was Samuel, his long-overdue associate, whose loyalty had waned with every ignored plea for aid. What brings you here? Kensington asked, his voice strained as he tried to suppress the horror brewing inside him. This is no hour for casual visits. I've come to warn you, Samuel said, stepping into the light, panic etched across his features. I overheard something at the tavern. There are whispers. People are talking about you, Lord Kensington. They know. The ground swayed beneath Kensington's feet. What do you mean they know? About your debts, Samuel added, glancing nervously over his shoulder. And worse, they've been in touch with Mary. She's in danger. Kensington, the last remnants of your past. And they're about to tear her life apart to get to you. Kensington's throat tightened. The thought of Mary facing repercussions because of him sent a bolt of ice through his veins. We need to find her before it's too late, he ordered, stepping forward as adrenaline flooded his body. We could gather the gold, Samuel suggested, doubt lacing his voice like poison. But it might not be enough. No, Kensington snapped, panic rising in him. I will not let money dictate her fate. There has to be another way. As fear loomed large in his mind, a sudden realization struck him. The young woman's warning about the truth loomed larger now. He couldn't hide anymore. But could he really unearth the truth without risking everything? Out of breath, they gathered their things and rushed out. But the night whispered secrets, sharper than any weapon. With every step they took, each shadow flickered with the weight of unanswered questions. Lord Kensington. Samuel stopped abruptly, staring into the distance. We're not alone, Kensington's heart dropped. What do you mean? Emerging from the darkness, several figures stepped forward, faceless but menacing. The flicker of lantern light revealed hardened expressions. A group rallied together with one single aim: his downfall. Time to pay your debts, my lord, one voice growled, cutting through the night like ice. Kensington's mind raced. The confrontation was inevitable, and as daylight approached, so did the chilling truth. What awaited him and Mary now loomed just on the horizon like a thunderous storm. Would he be shackled by his own secrets or rise from the ashes of his past? The figures moved closer, their shapes becoming more defined in the flickering light. Kensington's heart raced like a frightened animal, desperate to escape a predator. He tightened his grip on the candlestick, the cold metal strangely comforting now. Stand back, he commanded, trying to project authority, but the tremor in his voice betrayed him. One of the figures, tall, with a hood pulled low, stepped forward, the lantern casting shadows that danced ominously across his face. You're in no position to make demands, Kensington. You've squandered everything. Haven't you? Each word struck Kensington like a blow. He glanced at Samuel, who was frozen, wide-eyed. Run, he mouthed silently, but it was too late. The men advanced, and there was nowhere to go. What do you want? Kensington rasped, feeling his throat tighten with dread. Your debts, the hooded figure said, a cruel smile creeping across his face. We're here to collect. Kensington felt a surge of outrage, pressing down on the fear. I won't give you anything. He thought of Mary, her face blurring in his mind with desperation. You leave her out of this. I'll pay what I owe. The laughter that erupted filled the room like a thick fog. You think we care about your promises? The hooded man took another step forward, and Kensington instinctively raised the candlestick, ready to defend himself. That won't impress us, Lord. Samuel, seemingly finding his courage, stepped beside him. You'll have to go through me first, he shouted, his voice ringing with strength, but the reality was clear: they were outnumbered. Foolish, the man hissed, his men pressing closer. You think we're here for a fair fight? We'll take what we want, and anyone who stands in our way will face the consequences. Kensington took a deep breath, bracing for impact. The sound of a sharp crack filled the air, and the world seemed to slow down. In that split second, he saw a flash of movement, a figure darting out from the shadows, lunging at the attackers from behind. A woman mysteriously elegant and fierce, barely 6 paces away, her knife glinting under the lantern light. Get back, she cried, her voice defiant. Kensington's eyes widened as he recognized her. The young woman who had spoken cryptically about dreams and dangers just hours before. Enough. We don't have time for this, she snapped, her focus fierce. We have to go now. The distraction had thrown the aggressors, catching them off guard. Kensington seized the opportunity. Samuel, follow her, run. But before either could react, the group lunged. Kensington's heart sank. He felt a sudden rush of panic, a wild instinct to protect the 2 women who now seemed caught in a deadly trap. Enough of this. The hooded man summoned all-terrifying command, and suddenly, everything erupted into chaos: shattered glass, Harsh shouts, and bodies colliding. With fear gripping his heart, Kensington grabbed Samuel's arm. "We have to escape." He pulled Samuel towards the back room, the woman leading the way, her knife ready as she fought off their attackers. They stumbled into the adjoining hallway, the dark corridor echoing their hurried breaths. Kensington turned to look back, dread clawing at him as he caught a glimpse of Maria's face lingering like a ghost from the past, summoning his resolve. The air was charged with the kind of electricity that promised danger, and he wondered whether safety was possible or if the shadows had come to claim what was theirs. Ahead, they could hear the sounds of pursuit growing louder, footsteps pounding like thunder. "We can't stop," the woman yelled, glancing back with fierce determination. "Not until we're far away from here." Uncertainty dug deep in Kensington's gut, mingling with the adrenaline. Could this woman be trusted? Did she have the answers he craved? Or was she just another shadow in a night full of deceit? "Where are we going?" he panted, desperation rising in his voice. "To the place where secrets can't find us," she replied, slipping through a narrow door at the end of the hallway. Kensington glanced at Samuel, fear mirrored in his friend's eyes. "Then we better move quickly. If we're caught now, we may never escape." As they barreled through the door, a chilling realization struck him: the path ahead might not lead to safety, but to the heart of the very truth he had been avoiding. What awaited them in the darkness? Would this lead to revelation or ruin? They burst into the room, the air thick with the scent of damp wood, and something else, something rotten, that whispered of secrets buried deep. The narrow space lit by a single candle flickered, casting deep shadows along the walls. Kensington caught a glimpse of old portraits staring down at them, their painted eyes seeming to judge, to warn. "Quick, over there," the woman urged, pointing towards a stairway that spiraled down into darkness. "They'll be right behind us." As they hesitated, a crash echoed from the hallway, followed by shouts. Kensington's pulse quickened. The urgency hit hard. "We need to go," he urged, pushing Samuel toward the steps. They sprinted down the creaking stairs, the woman's swift movements guiding them. Kensington's heart hammered in his chest, fear clawing at his throat. "Who are you?" he gasped, trying to catch his breath. "No time for that," she shot back, her eyes fixed on a door at the bottom. "Just trust me." They reached the door, and she pushed it open with such force that it slammed against the wall. A musty cellar spread out before them, dimly lit and lined with barrels and crates. It was a far cry from the chaos above, yet a prison of sorts, a depth where secrets could fester and grow. "Will we be safe here?" Samuel whispered, anxiety trembling in his voice. "Safe? Not yet," she replied, a hint of urgency tugging at her words. "But it's better than out there." Desperate for answers, Kensington turned to her. "What are we running from? Who are those men? What debts?" "Everything will be clearer if you listen," she replied firmly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Your debts don't just involve coins or property. They go much deeper, into corruption and crimes that the world pretends do not exist." A shiver racked Kensington's spine. "What do you mean?" "You're speaking in riddles." Before she could respond, the distant sounds of angry voices rumbled through the doorway like thunder, growing closer. Kensington felt a surge of terror. "They're here." The woman moved quickly, grabbing a heavy old lantern from a nearby shelf and lighting it with a quick flick of a match. "We can't stay in the open. Follow me." As they moved deeper into the cellar, Kensington's mind raced. Could this woman be trusted? Would they descend into a maw of danger instead of safety? Above, the chaos of the attackers echoed, and each step deeper into the darkness felt like a plunge into the unknown. "Stay quiet," she warned, leading them between the towering shelves. The flickering lantern light cast eerie shadows, and Kensington almost expected to see ghostly faces peering at them from the dark. "Tell me your name," he pushed, hoping for a connection, a lifeline. "Clara," she replied simply, eyes darting, scanning their surroundings like a hawk. "And you need to understand that your life isn't what it seems. There are layers to this, and we are at the core." "What do you mean?" Kensington probed, urgency clawing at him as he stumbled over a loose floorboard. "People you think you trust can betray you," Clara said, her voice dropping lower. "The safer you think you are, the closer danger actually is. Decisions you make from here on could seal your fate." Her words settled in the dimness around them like an intoxicating fog. Kensington felt the weight of her warning. What had he done in his past that might come back to haunt him? Suddenly, a loud crash reverberated through the cellar, and a shadow passed over the storage room above. "They're looking for us," Clara hissed, eyes wide with alarm. "We need a plan, and quickly." A wave of fear engulfed Kensington, followed by the steely resolve to protect what was left of his fractured world. But what could he even trust anymore? Trust was a fragile thread, easily severed. With a racing heart, he wondered if moving forward with Clara was leading him closer to truth or turning away from a fate he could not foresee. The walls of the cellar loomed around them as if they held answers sealed tight within. What was hidden in the depths? Would they uncover the truth or merely invite more shadows to their doorstep? The noise above grew louder, and Kensington sensed that time was running out. The air tasted stale as Kensington followed Clara further into the shadows of the cellar. The lantern flickered, casting quick, dancing shadows that seemed to reach out, whispering threats in the dark. Each creak of the wooden floor beneath them felt like a countdown, a relentless reminder that they were not alone. "Where are we going?" he whispered, his voice barely rising above the rustling silence. "To the back," Clara replied, not breaking her stride. "There's an exit, but it's not safe until we know they're gone." Kensington's heart raced. Behind them, the sounds of their pursuers amplified, stomping boots mingling with maddened shouts. It was almost as if the walls were closing in, breathing down his neck, pushing him deeper into a vortex of uncertainty. "Listen," Clara paused, her expression turning grave. "When we get to the back, I'll explain everything. But right now, we need to keep moving." As they maneuvered through the cluttered space, Kensington couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. He jumped as a rat scurried past, its beady eyes gleaming in the dim light. Fear mixed with adrenaline sharpened his senses. The sticky heat of desperation clung to him. Suddenly, they reached an outcrop of barrels stacked high, a small niche carved into the wall. Clara turned and tugged at a rope that hung from the ceiling, and the back wall creaked, revealing a hidden passage shrouded in shadows. "In here," she urged, pulling Kensington through ahead of Samuel. Inside, the narrow corridor was pitch black. The musty odor was thicker here, tinged with metallic undertones. Kensington inhaled sharply, feeling it settle in his chest. This place had secrets, dark ones, he sensed. Clara pressed the lantern close, illuminating old stone walls lined with strange symbols. "This is where it all began," she murmured, her voice reverberating off the cold stones. "The debts that haunt you, they're tied to this place." "What do you mean?" Kensington blurted, panic punctuating his words. "I don't even understand what's happening." "We're standing on the edge of a treacherous history," Clara insisted, her eyes fuming with urgency. "You need to know about the estate and who really owns it. Your name carries weight, Kensington. The debts your family's family, they run deeper than just money." His breath hitched. "What does my family have to do with any of this?" "I don't even know what you're talking about." A loud banging echoed from above, rattling the entrance to the cellar. Clara's eyes widened. "They're getting closer." With no time to waste, she grabbed Kensington's wrist, guiding him down the narrow corridor. The walls seemed to pulse, alive with their shared fear. Just then, she stopped. "There's a door ahead. We can hide behind it and listen. We need to know what they're after." Kensington's chest tightened as they approached the door. He pressed his ear to the wood, straining to hear the shouts creeping through the silence. A frantic conversation that hinted at betrayal and danger. "Find them before the will. We cannot let them escape." Kensington felt a chill cut through him. "What will?" he whispered. Clara turned, her face pale. "If they're talking about the will, it means you're far more involved than you realize. Your life, it could change in a heartbeat." Before he could respond, the door creaked ominously, a warning that sent them both reeling backwards. The noise above surged, feet pounding, voices raging. "It's only a matter of time before they find us." Clara gasped, her resolve beginning to crack. Kensington's mind swirled with uncertainty. Do we run or confront them? What if the door burst open, and a figure emerged, silhouetted against the lantern light? Kensington's heart dropped as he recognized the man, a face from his past, a connection intertwined with the sinister web Clara had described. Could this be the end of their fleeting safety, or the beginning of unearthing those buried secrets? The man stepped forward, eyes gleaming with malicious intent, and opened his mouth to speak. What was he about to reveal? Would it cast a shadow on the truth Kensington was desperately seeking, or thrust them deeper into the abyss? Time was slipping away. The darkness inside him matched the one outside. Kensington barely had time to process the figure before him. A wave of disbelief crashed over him. David, his estranged uncle, the man whose very name had haunted family gatherings and whispered conversations in the dark corners of their home. David's eyes were two dark voids, smoldering with a mix of anger and determination. "What are you doing here?" Kensington's voice trembled, fueled by confusion and that deep-set fear he could never quite shake. "Why? I was about to ask you the same question." David's voice dripped with sarcasm, each word a sharpened blade. "Playing hide and seek in the family estate, are we? How quaint." Clara's grip on Kensington tightened, her body tense and coiled like a spring ready to snap. "What do you want, David?" she demanded, her voice steadied against the urgency of the moment. David chuckled darkly, stepping closer, the lantern light flickering as if wavering under the weight of his presence. "You two think you can just run off with the family's secrets? That you can slip through the cracks and leave the rest of us in the dark?" He straightened, revealing a glinting object in his hand, a small, ornate key. Kensington's pulse quickened. "What does that key unlock?" he asked, suppressing the rising dread. "The truth," David replied, tapping the key against his palm. "You want to know what happened to your father? To your mother? To the fortune we lost?" He leaned in, a whisper now, belied by the fervor in his eyes. "It's all in the vault, the family's hidden sins, the debts never paid. But it's meant to stay buried." Kensington had to swallow hard to clear the knot forming in his throat. "You're lying. They wouldn't keep secrets like that from me. From us. Is that so?" David taunted, eyes narrowing. "You know, it's funny how people hear what they want to hear. Your mother wanted to protect you, but look how that turned out. All of you running from the past." Clara shot Kensington a glance filled with urgency. "We have to get out of here," she murmured, almost imploring. The pounding footsteps above seemed to grow louder, echoing their impending doom. With a sudden movement, David advanced, eyes blazing. "You won't leave without understanding what this all means. Your family has blood on its hands, my blood." Kensington felt a mixture of fear and anger welling inside him. "What are you talking about? You're just bitter because of—" He realized he didn't even know why. But whatever it was, it had driven a wedge deep into their family. David's expression shifted, shadows flickering across his face. "Bitter? Oh, Kensington, I'm much more than bitter. I'm here to ensure the sins stay hidden, to guard the family's secrets against the likes of you." He raised the key above his head, and for a fleeting moment, it glimmered with ominous purpose. Just then, the door behind them slammed closed with a resounding thud, making Kensington jump. "They know we're here," Clara said, her eyes wide with panic. "We can't stay." In a split second, Kensington was faced with a choice: face his uncle, uncover the secrets, or flee with Clara into the unknown. David's voice rang out, compelling and sinister. "You think you can run away from your legacy? It's time to measure the weight of your family's past." Kensington's heart raced as he glanced between David and the door. There wasn't much time left. Would he dare unlock the vault of his family's dark secrets? Or would he let fear shackle him to a fate already sealed? And just outside the door, he could hear the unmistakable sound of boots pounding down the corridor. Would he step forward into the unknown, or be crushed beneath the weight of his family's dark legacy? The choice bore down on him like a storm, and the shadows whispered all around. Kensington's mind raced. Just past the door, the footsteps grew heavier, like thunder rumbling over a distant horizon, approaching with menace. He could almost feel the chill of danger creeping up his spine. Clara was staring at him, her eyes wide, half pleading, half terrified. "Please, we have to run," she urged, a whisper laced with urgency. But David wasn't finished. "You're not going anywhere until you understand." He hastily shoved the key back into his pocket, then lunged forward, seizing Kensington's arm with an iron grip. "You're tethered to this place, to your bloodline. Do you hear me? The past is a beast, and it won't let you go that easily. Let him go," Clara shouted, her voice sharp as glass. She grabbed at David's arm, but he merely scoffed, throwing her aside like a rag doll. The impact sent Clara sprawling against the wall, and Kensington felt a surge of protectiveness roar to life. "Stop! Let her go!" David's gaze shifted, a dangerous smile creeping across his lips. "What's this? Are you ready to fight me for her? Is that really what you want, Kensington?" In that moment, the door rattled violently, the sound like a gunshot in the heavy air. Kensington's gut twisted. They were running out of time. He felt pressure building behind his ribs, a storm of emotions converging. "David, just tell me what really happened. Why are you doing this?" Kensington pleaded, every word a desperate plea meant to reach the remnants of family that might still linger in his uncle. The smirk faltered for just a fraction of a second, revealing a glimpse of something darker. "You really want to know what happened? Your father was a coward, Kensington. He ran from the very things that made him who he was. And now it's your turn to either step into the light or be consumed by the shadows." Kensington's mind reeled. Coward? The words hung like a noose, felt suffocating. "What about my mother? What did you do to her?" David scoffed, shaking his head like a disappointed parent. "You'd best tread carefully. You're digging into graves you don't know how to unearth. Family isn't just blood. It's the burdens we carry." With a sudden roar, the door swung open, and a cluster of men in dark uniforms surged inside. Kensington's heart sank. They looked like wolves with a pack mentality, eyes set on their prey. "Get them!" one of the men barked, his voice commanding. Clara was quick, grabbing Kensington's hand as she yanked him back. "We have to go. Now." "Not without answers," Kensington shouted, refusing to be dragged into the unknown just yet. David's face twisted in a mix of glee and rage as he recognized the advancing threat. "Run!" David yelled, surprise flickering across his face as he pushed back against the looming danger. His eyes flicked to Kensington. "If you want to know the truth, you must seek it out. But not here, not now." Kensington felt gnawing urgency clawing at his insides. The time for speaking was over. In that split second, he made his choice. With Clara at his side, he tore away, adrenaline pulsing through him. They darted past David, who stood momentarily paralyzed between the men and his remaining kin. Rushing toward the door, Kensington's thoughts spun in a dizzying blur. What had David meant by seeking the truth? What other terrors lay in wait? Could they escape this estate, or were they hurtling deeper into the very darkness David had warned of? Somewhere behind them, the men shouted, feet pounding, giving chase. The walls reverberated with urgency, each echo taunting Kensington's frantic flight. "Clara," he gasped, "we need a plan." But before she could answer, they burst into the hallway, where shadows shifted and twisted, making the air thick with dread. Just as they stepped into the dimness, Kensington glimpsed a glint of silver. Another door. A potential escape, perhaps even a way to unravel the fabric of his family's darkest secrets. "Over there," he yelled, and together they sprinted toward the possibility of freedom or the possibility of facing something far more sinister. The hunt was on, and Kensington knew they had only one chance to uncover the truth before it swallowed them whole. Would they find answers lurking in the shadows, or would the darkness claim them first? Kensington pushed through the door, its cold metal handle chilling his palm as he opened it wide. The room beyond was dimly lit, shadows stretching like fingers yearning for the light. Clara followed closely, her breath quickening with each heartbeat. They had no time to waste. The men were relentless, their shouts echoing down the hall behind them. The room was cluttered, an old study that looked as if it had not been touched in decades. Dust motes danced in the dim light as Kensington scanned the space for anything that could help them escape. Books lined the walls, their spines cracked and worn, whispering tales of generations past. A heavy desk stood in the corner, its surface littered with papers and an old lantern, flickering weakly. "Is there another way out?" Clara whispered, her voice a tense knot of fear and urgency. "Let me check," Kensington replied, his eyes darting side to side. He rushed to the window, fingers trembling as he drew back the tattered curtains. The view beyond was more imposing than he'd expected. A sheer drop led to the tangled woods below. They were trapped. Panic rose within him, clawing at his insides. "No, no, no," he muttered, biting his lip as he turned back to Clara. "We can't go out there. There has to be something we can use." Clara's eyes searched the room, light glistening off her tears. "What if we barricade the door and find another way?" Before he could respond, the door rattled violently. A low growl of utter frustration from behind it sent goosebumps rippling down Kensington's spine. He thought he saw the shadows deepen and swell, almost like they had a life of their own, waiting to consume them. Suddenly, an idea sparked in Kensington's mind. "The desk! Help me move it!" Together, they shoved the heavy piece of furniture against the door just as it burst open. The men from before came rushing in, their eyes wild with the thrill of the chase. Kensington and Clara braced against the desk, muscles straining as they fought against the weight of the world pressing down upon them. "Get them!" a man yelled, voice cracked with madness. Time seemed to stretch out, the tension palpable. One of the men lunged, grabbing at Clara just as Kensington felt his own heart hammering in his chest. A surge of adrenaline shot through him, and he swung his arm, knocking the man down. Clara took the chance to kick at another, sending him stumbling backward. "Don't stop!" Kensington yelled, each word pouring from his mouth like fire. They needed to find a way out. Now, with a great heave, they pushed the desk aside, creating a small gap through which they could dart. Leaving chaos in their wake, they bolted into a narrow hallway that split into two directions. "Left or right?" Clara panted, glancing back at the angry shouts drawing closer. "Left," Kensington decided on instinct, pulling her with him. They rushed down the dim corridor, breathless, desperate. The wood creaked beneath them, and Kensington felt every heartbeat as though it were the last. Suddenly, they entered a grand ballroom, chandeliers hanging from above like forgotten chandeliers from a nightmare. The opulence of the room contrasted sharply with the fear clawing at their throats. The walls were lined with mirrors. Reflections flickered in the dim light, twisting their images and warping their fears. "Look," Clara pointed to a doorway at the opposite end of the room. "We can get out through there." But just as they turned towards the door, a shadow crossed their path. David emerged from the shadows, looming tall and resolute. The glint in his eyes was menacing, filled with a twisted kind of excitement. Kensington's heart sank. Whatever else had come before, they had run straight into the monster at the heart of it all. "Thought you could escape?" David taunted, raising a finger. "The past is a snare, and it has you right where I want you." Kensington stepped forward defiantly, heart racing, determined to confront the truth. "Let us go. You can't keep running this game." And with that, the tension in the room crackled, and Kensington braced himself for the storm that was about to break. Would David reveal the secrets Kensington desperately needed? Or was he leading them further into the shadows from which they'd just fled? The silence was deafening, broken only by the pounding in Kensington's chest. David stood like a wall, brimming with confidence, while Kensington felt vulnerable and exposed. The chandelier's crystal glimmer twisted the shadows, weaving a web both beautiful and terrifying around them. "Why, Kensington, you're failing to see the obvious," David cooed, the words dripping with contempt. "This grand estate, your family's legacy, it's a prison for those who can't bear the truth." With each step David took closer, Kensington's resolve hardened. Clara stood firm beside him, the flame in her eyes ablaze with courage. "We're not scared of you," she declared, voice steady. "Not anymore." Kensington swallowed hard, the weight of secrets both familiar and strange swirling around him. "What do you want, David? Why do you lurk in shadows, hiding from what you fear?" David laughed, the sound echoing through the vast space as if mocking them. "Fear? No, dear nephew. I've embraced freedom through understanding the darkness that binds us all is the very source of power." He waved his hand as if he were watching a magician perform, bringing forth an illusion steeped in wicked truth. "You speak of power as if it's something to cherish," Kensington reminded him, anger igniting in every word. "But holding on to the past only makes you a prisoner." "Such a noble thought, but the prison is built on lies," David shot back. "You want answers? You're standing in their very heart." He gestured toward the grand room, which felt eerily alive, as if it held the spirits of all those who had suffered within these walls. Before Kensington could retort, he felt a surge of urgency. "Enough of this. We're leaving, David." He took a step forward, determined to shatter the chains of torment that had clung to his family for too long. "Leave? With the truth unspoken?" David's eyes flashed with something dark, sinister. "The will of your father, the secrets of this estate you think you can run without confronting them? They're waiting for you to reclaim them, or they'll consume everyone you care for. Tell me," Kensington demanded, the lump in his throat tightening. "What did you do to my family? You owe me that much." David leaned in, voice dropping to a whisper. "They buried what they wanted you to forget. Your father made choices just like you will run or take ownership. The truth is in the vault where the lost dreams linger," whispered among shadows. Kensington felt the walls close in on them, the energy surging through him creating a hunger for clarity. "Show me," he said, the determination in his voice slicing through the tension. "Let us end this." The shift in David's expression was almost imperceptible, a fleeting flicker of surprise that vanished almost instantly. "You're bold. I like that." With a deep breath, Kensington steeled himself for the leap into the unknown. He turned to Clara, their gaze locked for a fleeting moment, a promise passed in silence. Together, they moved past David, the tension crackling like a raw electricity. "Fools," David hissed behind them, but Kensington felt the confidence swell inside him. They would seize this moment, whatever the outcome. They sprinted toward the hidden door David had mentioned, winds of courage pushing them forward, while echoes of fear faded. Kensington could feel the weight of generations behind him, saturated with pain but layered with hope. They descended into the depths beneath the estate, navigating through twisting corridors that whispered secrets nudged along by time. At last, they reached a heavy iron door at the end, a vault locked tight, the handle glimmering with opportunity. Kensington placed a hand against the cold metal, the contours familiar, like a heartbeat waiting to be unleashed. "Is this it?" Clara gasped, her breath quickening again. "Only one way to find out," Kensington whispered, as he turned the handle, adrenaline coursing through him. With a creak, the vault swung open, revealing a world of papers, family relics, and a tapestry of memories trapped in dusty shadows. He stepped inside, the scent thick with history. Papers, filled with injustice and heartache, were piled high, remnants of abandoned lives. But among them lay an ornate box, the contents pulsing with the weight of awaited revelations. Kensington trembled as he lifted the lid. Inside, he found a collection of letters, photographs, and a gleaming document, his father's will, intertwined with messes and malice, revealing truths that would alter everything he believed. With shaky hands, he pulled out the papers, the history of their family laid bare, and felt Clara's hand on his shoulder, steady and grounding. As the whispers of the past became louder, Kensington braced for the storm of emotions to hit. Suddenly, the echo of heavy footsteps approached rapidly from the corridor above. Clara and Kensington exchanged worried glances. "We have to go," she urged, not without understanding what we've uncovered. He replied fiercely, eyes determined. Together, they gathered what they could, resolute to face whatever consequences awaited them in the light. Prison chains forged in fear would not keep them shackled. It was time to unmask the ghosts that had haunted their lineage and redefine their legacy. As they slipped back into the darkness, footsteps echoed down the hallway, the shadows around them alive with possibility. The clock was ticking this time. They would not run or hide. They would stand together, revealing their truths to shatter the chains, ready to embrace whatever came next. Now's the time. You need to subscribe immediately to this channel, so you don't miss out on the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help this community grow. I want to hear from you, so flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. What do you think will happen next? And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who definitely need to see this conclusion. Your support matters more than you know.